Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Sliding is weird. Hello. Okay. Happy Thursday. Happy Halloween, I suppose. Hello, Brett, Cecil, Ashman. If you're here, shout out to Ashman and Cecil for reminding me about this live. Long story short, I was supposed to do it yesterday, and then this stuff came up. So, you know, here we are. So, anyways, all that aside, so much love to everyone. Thank you again for being here. I'm just going to riff off of kind of some of the things that I've been feeling and experiencing, and that seems to be helpful in learning. Yeah, and it'll probably have to do with what I titled this "Think Responsibly." There are no idle thoughts. I think it's easy to. It's so crazy when you start really, really paying attention to what you're thinking and your thoughts, and especially the thoughts that you think like every day, that a lot of times um, it's just unconscious, but also I don't know. I think for me, as I'm awakening, I realize that there's no idle thoughts. All thought is producing form on some level. So it's really important to take responsibility for your thoughts and what you're thinking, and that'll really bless your life, and it'll really bless the lives of those around you as well. Because I just been having this crazy experience. So let me just dive into this. Hello, Johnny. Greetings, spirit free. God bless all of you. Sending you all so much love and joy. So where was I going? So I'm curious. First of all, how are you guys? How have you been? How have you been feeling? What's your wavelength that you feel like you're on? Because for me and a lot of people that I know right now, it's been it's been a time of like heart opening. Just like I feel like my heart is more open than it's ever been, and it makes me so excited. And what's crazy though is the journey I feel like that it's taken to get here. And when I say my heart feels open more than ever before, how to explain it? It's just like to get here was sort of a grueling process, because there's like some ego and some fear that really had to be seen, and it really had to die. And I've talked about this before. Everything I've shared in the past few videos, it's just kind of been this ongoing process of like releasing this deep fear that was in my mind and my body. And so as that started to like truly release, just feeling this, and it's released through just going up, kind of, it feels like going up against these challenges. But really, oftentimes these challenges are just opportunities to be in new ways, and to see, the stories and the narratives and the beliefs that are no longer serving you, and giving the opportunity to see them. And the greatest thing I know is when that happens, when you have a fear arise, or a thought, or a belief, um, and you start to become conscious of it, and you become conscious of, you get curious about it. Where is this coming from? With ego, it's always coming from trauma and separation. And what is it achieving? And what it's achieving is usually trauma and separation, because that's all it really knows. Just sort of creating these dramas within us. um, and what's crazy is, it's so crazy to come back to who you really are, on this spiritual journey again and again, coming back to who you really are as the eternal being, as the God consciousness, the child of God, the spirit that you are, that is unchanging, that is eternal. And noticing this sort of dream that we've been in. I know I'm all over the place, but it's all connected. But anyways, I don't know. I just wanted to share that. And if people are feeling that or going through similar things, I definitely am, I have. It's just been such a miraculous journey, truly. So continuing with what I'm sharing, seeing these old parts of myself, these fears or these ego narratives, the doers, the protection mechanism of the ego that's trying to preserve this false self passing away. Oh my gosh, it's so good because there's a lot of things that are very uncomfortable about that when the ego's passing away, because one, you might have to purge some like deep feelings, and two, and something I experienced is having to really hold space for this ego part of me that was coming to the light, um, and just see it and hold space for it with love and forgiveness and compassion for it, for myself, for all. And I had to do that for about 3 days, I feel like, where it was a little bit uncomfortable because I was actually feeling a little bit bored because normally, this ego part is occupying a lot of my energy and I was just not having it. I was just like, no, we're not doing that. Thank you. But you're not driving the bus. You're not driving the bus anymore. Like I have this new level of awareness where I can see, these patterns of I need to go do that. I need to go do this, wanting to go do these things, not out of love or intuition, but doing things out of programming, doing things out of fear, doing things out of lack, doing things out of deprivation. And it's just sort of like a cycle because when you're acting from your ego out of lack, whatever you kind of do from that space, you'll learn. And that's the whole point. But it just kind of creates more with that lack and separation. Oh my goodness. Um, so I don't know. I just kind of want to riff off of that and share the joy of that. And another thing that's been coming up that's really amazing. I'm a little bit, I had some coffee today, so I'm a little bit like excited. But with this heart opening, something I've been feeling more than ever is the ability to receive more, and also the ability to give more. And this might sound super easy, but I have truly been pretty amazed at how hard it can be to truly receive, to receive love, to receive abundance, to receive joy, to receive the infinite stream of energy that is constantly being given to you. But again, when we're in our ego, when we're in our fear, in a lot of cases, we actually block it off. We block ourselves off from receiving. Um, it's like, I want this love, but I can't have it. I want this abundance, but I can't have it. I want this thing, but I can't have it for whatever reason. And that is such a painful experience that I know so well. I feel like I have like a PhD in not letting myself receive things at this point. Um, so I feel really blessed, and that's kind of why I want to share too. I just want to share this, in hopes that it's helpful for whoever's listening. Again, if you're going through something similar, or even it's less about what I'm saying and more I think about just the codes that are coming off, because that's what I just feel like I've been receiving. I almost want to say more than I've ever received in my life, and it's truly not about the external. It's all of these events that I was talking about that were kind of challenging and struggling to come back to who I am and release everything that I'm not. Um, it's cultivated. It's helped me to come back to the truth of my this love, this abundance, this peace is coming from within. So I really think that's an important point because a lot of the challenges that we're going through right now, even though they really feel like they just really suck sometimes, if we're being real and honest about it, what I've noticed is that it's always it's always sort of like these just, it feels it can feel bad, but it's always like God or spirit like pushing you to let go of what you're not, because it's just not true. It's not who you really are. It's just this illusion that you're holding desperately onto. And it takes a lot of courage to let it go. And this is the most miraculous thing I've been learning and experiencing, in this ability to stop blocking myself off from receiving, but just being open, because as I was saying before, when you want to receive deep down, but you're not, for whatever reason, you're not allowing yourself to receive because you're scared or you don't feel worthy, or past traumas where that's everything the ego is coming from, is well, I can't receive, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm not capable enough, I have to protect myself, things are not coming, God has abandoned me. Again, it always seems to come back to that. And the truth is, God never abandoned you. It's just when we split, it's like we could never truly abandon God, right? But in our dream, in our disassociation, in this ego separation experience, we abandon God. And so the ego has to do everything it can to kind of maintain that illusion. And that's really what I find the ego is doing. It's doing what it can to maintain its illusion. And it's very interesting because the ego gets all of its power from your mind. And yet, um, its kind of job is to deny and depreciate your mind, so that way you don't wake up to the truth of the matter. Because every time you wake up to the real truth of the matter, ego gets dissolved, and we made our ego. So there's a part of us that's attached to our ego, or that construct. And yeah, I want to say it's not that the ego is necessarily bad. It's just completely an illusion. And for those that are here, we're ready to wake up from the illusion. We've been playing the game, and what a great game it's been, in a way. We can appreciate it. I think it's important to appreciate all experiences that you have. But it's a dream. It's keeping us in a dream. And it's just getting more and more clear. And I know I'm not the only one experiencing this. I know so many are. So what I was saying is, like, feeling like being able to receive more than I've ever received. It's an energetic shift, and it feels so good, because I don't know, you guys. Maybe it's because I grew up with a lot of like scarcity consciousness. So it's just sort of kind of been a challenge, it's been a thing for me. But to be in this state now where I feel like I'm just receiving, and when I'm saying receiving, it's energetic receiving. It's an allowing. It's okay, like I want to experience more joy. All I have to do is allow. All I have to do is stop blocking my channels for receiving that, because it's just naturally streaming in. I hope this is helpful, and I just want to share this love, because it's one thing to share these words, because I feel like there's a lot of people who say similar things to what I'm saying, but I think it can be easily lost in like concept. But like, to actually allow yourself to receive, I'm going to say something that might be triggering to egos, because it's always going to trigger ego, but it's just something to think about. Is like, what if like any deprivation that you are experiencing is an illusion? And by an illusion, I'm not saying it's not real, or it's not real to you in your experience, because you're, in a way, you're making it. Even if it's unconscious, you're making it. So it feels very real. The dream feels very real. And I just want to make it clear, when I talk about the illusion, it is an illusion of separation. It's a dream. that we're projecting onto the screen that we literally forgot and got so lost in for so many generations that this is just, it's like we're in this loop, and that's okay. So it is an illusion, but also don't think that I mean that it's not very real to you, or just in the same way, my ego delusions have been very real to me. So I don't want to ever feel like I'm gaslighting you or gaslighting myself. It's just being able to, I guess, understand that distinction. So yeah, just being able to receive, and receiving and giving, it really is the same thing. And in this ability to receive more, I feel like I've also been able to give more, and it's been feeling so good. And that's really kind of just what inspired me to want to share now. Is I think this is one of my favorite ways to share, to give, is to just to come on here and hang out with you guys, and and be in this space together. It's so beautiful. I'm so grateful. How are you guys? How is everything? I've just sort of been flowing. Like I said, I'm pretty excited right now, and I hope it's all connecting for you, beautiful soul. We are all so connected, and just being able to perceive the light in yourself and in others, being able to perceive the Holy Spirit in yourself and in others, that's really our only goal. Our only mission, in a way, is to just heal the separation. If that's your intention, at least. If your intention is awakening. Because all of the desires of the ego to play in this game of separation, if you want to play that game, that's totally okay. You obviously have that free will to play that game. But for me, and for many listening, you reach this point where it's like, okay, I'm ready to get off the crazy train. I'm ready to get off the crazy train and come back to the truth of what I am. Because, this whole suffering thing, it's been really fun, I guess. But yeah, I get it. I get it now. Is this making sense? Thank you. Thank you, Quantum Shifter. Blessings to Australia. Rob. Obsessing over somebody I thought was my twin flame. I'm only able now to let go and move on. I don't know what the fuck happened to me, but I'm still not giving up. It takes a lot to be free. Yeah, it's so beautiful, and so much love to you, and thank you, Cecil. you guys are kind. It's the road and the path to freedom, to liberation. You will always find it. You will always find it as you go. And the thing is just, you just can't give up on yourself. And that's kind of a paradox too, because if your desire is to truly know, to get beyond the beliefs and the perceptions and this dream world of illusions, of perception, of ego, of separation, you will get it. You will return. We will all return home eventually, if you know what I mean. And you will always find the truth if that's what you're truly seeking. And so yeah, just don't give up on yourself. And there's kind of a paradox in that, because even in the journey of not ever giving up on yourself, in my experience, there's times, how to say this, where it's like you're not giving up on yourself, but there's times when you have to give up on the ego self that you think you were. And in fact, that kind of is the journey itself, is giving up the ego self that you're not, the version of you that's kind of stuck, clinging to things that don't really exist, at least not in the way you think they do. Trying to get peace and validation from external means, and it's just not the way that the natural order of how you were designed to be is. And that's what's coming out of the simulation. It's uninverting yourself, because everything you're seeing is kind of like you pushed out. And collectively, everything we're seeing is us pushed out. And there's no separation between us, really. That's been a really important lesson I've been learning, is like, anytime you are attacking someone, even just in your mind, even just a judgment, even just an assumption, you're affirming the separation, and you're hurting yourself. You're actually hurting yourself, because that projection, it's going to ping right back to you, and it's not a punishment. It's just how it kind of works, So for us, so to truly be in peace, that's an important thing that I think is overlooked. Is it's about coming back into perfect love, and perfect love for yourself, perfect love for God, perfect love for all that is, and perfect love for your brothers and sisters. And the thing is that is truly the it's so needed. It's the whole point. I think it's been overlooked. I think we forget the importance of loving each other, seeing the light in each other, seeing the Holy Spirit in one another, even and especially in difficult circumstances within the dream. Because think about it, most people are very unconscious, right? They're in the dream. They believe in the ego self that they are, but they're still a child of God, just like you are. Nothing could ever destroy that. Nothing can destroy that. That's eternal. That's infinite. That's truth. You are an eternal child of God, having this experience, as are all of our living brothers and sisters. You can be totally unconscious, acting crazy, which we all do from time to time, So it's like, there really can't be any judgment there. There can be, but again, it's just, you're just judging yourself, right? But we're so deep in the dream. We've been so deep in the dream. Don't underestimate how deep we have all been in the sleep. It's crazy. So it's like, we need each other. We need each other as divine mirrors, as divine equals, to help each other and help ourselves. And I think when you're on this point of awakening, that's your only, if you'd even call it a goal or a prayer, is to because when you start embodying more and more light, you're naturally illuminating all that's around you. So a part of being this light is also having this, I guess, intention, if you can even call it that, of illuminating, the ones around you. And again, I don't mean this in a codependent, like killing, like just like hurting yourself way. I mean this in a spiritually mature way. It's not a controlling way of trying to control them or yourself. It's simply your awareness, and it's simply allowing yourself to start to see the Holy Spirit in everyone, and see that in them. And if you think that doesn't shift them, even if it's in a way that you can't see instantly, it does. Because think about, some of the people who are really suffering too, like really unconscious, acting how they might be acting insane, because that's how ego has us acting, is just truly insane. How many opportunities do you think they've had in their life where somebody has perceived them as they truly are? And you don't even have to say a word, really, unless the present moment calls you to, unless God calls you to. You don't even have to really say a word, but just to perceive someone, to perceive the light in them, to perceive the perfection in them, to perceive who they really are beyond this ego self. You don't think that influences them. You don't think that's a miracle and a blessing for them. And it's also a miracle and a blessing for you, because it also affirms your path of awakening. So I don't know. I guess I just wanted to come out too. It's been really beautiful. It's been such a game changer, truly. Healing the separation and realizing how connected we are, and what a gift that is. And again, to stop blocking yourself from receiving money, from receiving love, from receiving abundance, from receiving joy, or whatever it is you want, you can have. And I think a lot of it comes back as well to in this moment, in this talk, is coming out of the scarcity and the lack consciousness. It's such a dis-ease. It's such a dis-ease. Um, and the more you become awake and aware and pay attention, the more you can just naturally start to step out of the lack and the scarcity consciousness, which is, I feel like we're only beginning to see in a way how insane that consciousness is, how um, entangling and encompassing that consciousness can be when you get really stuck in it. And I actually, that was part of the experience that got me here now, is going through this just deep, uncomfortably intimate journey with lack consciousness, not feeling like I have enough, feeling deprived, feeling like I'm not enough, like just these false ego constructs that I learned, from my childhood, from my life, and just starting to unlearn them. Be like, no, there actually is, I'm not being deprived of anything right now. That's an illusion. I have everything I need. And when I stop worshiping my fear around not having enough, am I safe, when I can just really practice like full concentration every day the best I can on unlearning the lack, having compassion and holding space for the character in me, the part of me that really believes it's deprived, that really believes it's separate, that really believes in all of the physical sight, which most physical sight, it's not, it's an illusion. It's like coming back into your spiritual sight, the real seeing, not this egotistical seeing that we've learned. Um, coming back to the now. It's a big part of it is just coming back to the now and being very aware and just starting to get really clear and, I guess, knowledgeable about the ego and all of the different innovative ways that the ego will try to preserve itself. That's when you get down to it, the ego parts of you, and it's your ego when it's not perfect love, because God is perfect love and you are perfect love. When there's fear, when there's guilt, when there's sorrow, when there's grief, there's ego. That's how you know. And the ego, its whole agenda is to basically preserve itself. So it'll do anything, it'll say anything. And it's not something to be mad about, it's something to forgive. It's something to see. It's something to see and to become conscious of and forgive. And it's not bigger than who you really are. That's, if you feel like your ego is bigger than who you are, then that's a bluff. That's just a bluff. Yeah, forgiveness. It's like, why are we, I don't know, it's just coming into this state of love, perfect love. The love of God is my mission, right? It's who we really are. If that, it's like, so to all of these like illusions of separation, whether it's separating myself or separating me from another. And again, all I mean by that is me staying in some kind of judgment or division towards people. What's the point? Honestly, what's the point of that? Just so I can keep my ego alive? Just so I can preserve my ego, or they can preserve their ego? It's just silliness. I'm starting to understand that surrender is second to love. I don't have to fight or defend the ego constructs. I can just surrender and be at peace. It also takes great humility to do so. Beautifully said. Yes. Maybe this is what I'll end on, just to keep this short and sweet for now. This is another thing I've really, really been experiencing, and I just want this for everyone and more. Is like, as I've like really allowed this most recent ego construct to literally pass away by, again, just sort of being aware and being like, okay, I'm not going to follow this construct anymore. I see it. I'm just not, it just keeps me on a treadmill. It keeps me in like a hamster wheel. I see it clearly. I get it. Okay, what do I need to do? And just be, turn into your intuition, because your intuition, the Holy Spirit within you, what, getting clear on what is the truth? Who am I really? Do I need to be listening to this ego construct, blah, 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 go do this, go do that, so you can be safe, so you can, because the thing again about the ego is it's like, it's always going to have a problem, and it's always going to have a solution to the problem. And so that's kind of just this thing that it keeps you on. It's like, I have this problem. Okay, I'm going to solve this. And then you just get addicted to like this cycle, in different ways. Cause it's like, it's just, there's something about it that's like familiar and addictive. It's like, what to expect in a way, even if it's killing you, even if it's like, sometimes we have to get to that point in our ego desires where we finally are like, okay, I get it. I've completely exhausted myself to the bone trying to resist what I am. giving it up, like surrender. That's why you made me think of that. And so as that part of me truly passed away, it took like a few days, and I really almost did nothing. I mean, I did stuff naturally, but like, I really just had to like get clear, I guess, about about the truth, about what God, my spirit, or whatever you want to call it, truly is guiding me to do, and to follow that, as opposed to my safety mechanisms trying to be a controlling and attached, and thinks it wants to control. It thinks it knows. It thinks it knows what needs to be done, but it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's insane. And I say that lovingly. But anyways, and then I just started feeling this heart opening and like this receiving, and I actually was allowing myself to receive more than I've ever received before. And it naturally did reflect back in my external reality in beautiful ways, but it's not even about that at this point. It's like these initiations that we're going through are so strong, and I feel you so much. They can be so challenging, because I feel like I just went through a challenging one that I did not understand, like many times, what was happening to me. And I've kind of, I've reached almost like, sometimes I feel like we reach these checkpoints or something where it's like, ding, it's like an alignment. It's like, oh, it all makes sense. It all makes sense. Every single little struggle and detail and weird thing that I did, or I mistake I made, or like whatever. It's like it all just is like, I just, because if anybody's in the middle of this, I just want to affirm this. It's like very normal to feel like, I don't know what the fuck is even going on sometimes. But that's why I said earlier, just like, don't give up. Just keep going. Just keep going. Just keep going. Another side note is like, whenever you're feeling like a crazy emotion or whatever, anything you're feeling in like a few hours, in 24 hours or less, you're probably going to feel completely different, So just remember that, because sometimes the ego will be like, oh, you're ruined forever. No, it's going to change. It changes so quickly. It can change drastically. So your life can change so fast when you open up to God. And that's really the heart of what I'm I guess concluding on, is that was the message that came through, and this is the experience and the truth I had, is to just be at peace with God in the now. And that's my job. That's your job in a way, Can you trust that God is going to take care of you? This is truly the awakening and the coming back. This is like the true awareness, getting back into like the driver's seat, which the ego's been driving the bus and just like running over people and like running into buildings and just doing its thing. It's just that immature self, I guess. It doesn't need to be driving. So this is like coming back into letting God hold you, letting yourself be held by God. Why is that so uncomfortable? It's the same thing with receiving. It's the same thing with receiving. And you just become, and you've probably seen it. You've seen it in either in yourself, or you can see it in other people who's cracked these codes, where it's like when you're able to let God hold you, without running around like a chicken with its head cut off on your unconscious programs. No judgment. That's just, part of it, part of the awakening. When you just come back into this peace, God is peace, eternal peace, in the now, infinite, eternal, limitlessness. That's who you really are. That's your divine inheritance. You have everything you need. You are not deprived of anything unless you believe it. And then by believing it, you're going to feed that illusion, and your dream is going to broadcast these hell realms. You're going to be in it. We got to get out of these hell realms, unless you want to be in the hell realms. But I don't. I'm good. And not that we're afraid of them, right? But it's like coming up these levels of consciousness, and we're starting to realize that these hell realms are things that, usually it's like we've been programmed into them in a way, right? Just because we were born here and that's what we're given. But once you're, at this point, you realize it's your responsibility. That's kind of going back to the title. There's no idle thoughts. What are you thinking? Your thoughts are not impotent. Your ego will try to tell you your thoughts aren't that potent. Your thoughts are so potent. Your thoughts are creating everything. So you got to watch them. Don't be lofty in the thoughts that are coming in. We're way too open, I think, sometimes, to just whatever thought comes in, and just you got to be very awake, right? And it's an amazing journey. But anyways, that's the conclusion for now, is because that's been my experience, is just resting in the peace of God. And everything I need just comes to me in miraculous and magical ways. And I don't even, because I feel so open, I used to worry about it a lot. I don't even worry about it. I don't even care. I really don't, because I these challenges, or these initiations, these lessons, it's like they definitely were not easy many times, but they're so worth it, because now I can see how they've gotten me to this place more than ever before, where I feel like the love within me so much more unconditionally than I've ever felt it. And I don't know how else to explain it. It's like I don't really need anything. Like I don't need, it's like I'm so good. I'm resting in the peace of God for the most part. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. Obviously things are going to keep coming up to continue to, I guess, pull off these layers of illusion for me and for the collective. That's part of the work here. So I'm not attached to that. But again, just more than ever, I feel myself resting in God, and just, I don't need to control things. I don't need to worry about things. I don't need to do things how I used to do. It's just, everything just comes to me, and this is what I feel like is our natural state of being, because it's like we're letting God work, versus in my case, in the past, I'd let God work, but then there'd be certain things where my ego would jump in and be like, oh no, I have to control this because I know what's best and I need to do this. No, it's not. It's just an illusion of separation. So I hope that makes sense. I've just truly been amazed. I mean, I've really been amazed, and it makes me so excited, and for myself and for, all of us, and that we get to have this experience, just appreciating it all the best that I can and doing my best. The thing about resting in God and just being who you really are, it's like there's nothing to hide. And the thing about like your real self is like nothing of this world can truly destroy it or hurt it. And I think that really was the message of the resurrection, is like, in this realm, in this dream, you can go through all kinds of shit, and it's going to hurt your ego, and it's going to hurt other egos. But your real spirit is eternal, and it cannot be harmed by anything of this world. It can't. And it can't harm anyone else of this world. In the dream, it can. And that's all we do in the dream lately, it seems, so much division and separation. It's just like, for what? What is this drama? It's because people live in the past. It's like our minds are so conditioned to live in the past. If you think about it, it's an interesting thought experiment as you're practicing being awake and watching your thoughts. Notice how many, everything you see, objects you see or people you see, how much is like you're automatically putting the past on all of this stuff. You're projecting all this stuff onto things you don't even realize. You're, projecting the past on these things. Again, like I was saying earlier with the Holy Spirit, it's being able to see the Holy Spirit in people. I think that's how God sees us, but the ego, it just sees whatever it's crafted. It just sees its past. It just sees the fear. It just sees the division. It just sees the competition. It just sees the threat. Threat's not even real. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in the way you think it does. I guess so yeah, that was a big thing. It's just, can you let God hold you? Let God work. It's crazy. It's so simple, but why is it so hard sometimes? Isn't it? It really blows my mind how much us, the children of God, can have grown to be afraid of receiving love. But here we are, and we're doing amazing. You're all doing amazing, on the journey back to truth, back to knowledge, back to knowing. It's sort of this process of just having to heal your perception of how you see yourself, how you see God, how you see the world, again, how you see your brothers and sisters. They're not your enemy. What's that saying in the Bible? I think it's like, I'm not here to fight flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness in high and low places. That's really what it is. It's not people. It's not the people, Let's see if there's anything else I was going to say. Yeah. Thank you so much, Brett. I don't know if you're still here, but I love you. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat. So happy that you got to make it. Joe, Tides, Quantum Shifter says the ego gets hungry. It will even fight itself for a meal. Oh, yeah. It loves that. It loves that. Yeah. Tides. Most thoughts and emotions are unnecessary subtitles to life and reality. We don't need the subtitles most of the time, almost any of the time. The subtitles, that's the perception that's keeping us like rooted and anchored in the illusion and in the past. I think that's one of the greatest ways we can actually sometimes even help people, even like strangers from afar. Again, it's just seeing the Holy Spirit in them by looking, by having clear sight, seeing clearly. So like seeing without all this judgment and commentary and all this stuff. And it's very automatic. That's why you got to be awake, because it'll just come in automatically. And it's like, it's meaningless. It's absolutely meaningless. It's meaningless bullshit. And it's just creating more meaningless bullshit. It's all it is, really. Meaningless. When you come back into who you really are in this presence and the eternal and God, it's like your mind is functions in a very different way. Very different way. Because it's like you start to kind of, I want to say, align with the divine will. And God, you start to share God's thoughts. And God doesn't think nasty things about people. God doesn't operate in that way. God is perfect love. Nasty thoughts about people just hurts yourself, So I'm just and I get it, because like the dream feels so real and the pain, it feels so real. But it's like, at what point is it like, it's just like, I'm tired. I'm tired of hurting myself and people. What do I have to gain? The only thing that you gain from judging and hurting other people or yourself is you're affirming your ego self. That's all you're getting. And that's what the ego wants. And that's where we come from when we are identifying with the ego. But again, as you're awake to your eternal nature, beyond time and space, all this stuff gets to be so clear. It's like, yeah, why would I do that? Why would I slap myself in the face? And again, as it comes up, not even judging that though. It's just like compassion, forgiveness. Forgive yourself. You've already been forgiven, so forgive others. So much easier. I mean, it can be hard, but it's actually way harder not to forgive because now you're just stuck in your own hell realm again. Damn it. Don't you hate that? um, yes, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Ephesians. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that. Yeah, sometimes I like to just sit there and observe the thoughts and watch them wash away like waves, and they will. Everything is passing too, even like, emotions. Like I had a crazy purge, like emotional, like come up yesterday, and it's like the rain, it just comes up and it passes. If I don't have to grab onto it and just it's like that I'm anchoring myself into the reality that I don't even want to anchor it in. It's just like shh, like, let it pass through. Don't let the thoughts grab onto it and bring you into this insanity. So yes, I think that's all. I hope this is helpful. I love you all so much. You're all so loved. You are perfect love. You know, um, I don't know. It's just, I guess I want to say something about fear. It's just, fear is not what we think it is. Fear is the core of so many beliefs and blocks and errors or whatever you want to call them. Um, yeah, and it's really an illusion. I know it's one thing to say that, but gosh, if I could just transmit that, if we could all just really start to come into this truth of what fear really is and stop pledging our allegiance to the fear and, pledge our allegiance to the truth of what we are instead. You can't serve two masters. Is it going to be truth in the present? Is that what you really want, to know the truth? Or to disassociate and separate into the ego dream of insanity and pain and nightmares, and there's some more positive aspects of it too, but ultimately it doesn't compare to the truth of God and the abundance and infinite that you are. Everything that you want and need is designed to come to you when you're open to receive. And also, how do you receive? By giving. To have all, give all to all. Giving is so good. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everyone who shared in the chat. It's always so good to connect. And let's see if there's anything else. I think that's all for now. You already know I have sessions and services and classes and whatnot that I offer. And you can find that on my website, or you can find that in the description here if you want to work with me. Yeah, I think that's it for now. I love you all so much. God bless you all.